Okay, 1 point perspective. Set out using a drawing board and square the old style way. Freehand ink to finish off. This is what you'd normally do in a book or some sort of published illustration. First of all, determine your height line, eye line or horizon line, and then determine your center of vision. This is the vanishing point where the two cross. You'll notice that I've put it slightly to the left offset because I don't like things too regular. And this is your true set out line, and I'm making the grid an imaginary module. It could be a meter or anything else that's a module of your building. In this case it's a floor plan, just to keep it simple. Then I take those grid marks or scale marks and shoot them back to the vanishing point. This is 1 point, not 2 point or any other. So it all goes back to that 1 point. So I'm just ruling this in. You'll notice that I'm using a blue clutch pencil, blue lead clutch pencil, and the main set out lines, the horizon and so forth, are in red. This way I can keep control of what line I'm working on. These are all construction lines and may or may not be used, whereas the red are fixed. So this is all the horizontal grid going back. Notice it's more to the right than the left. Deliberately, that's the way I chose it to be. Yep, all going back to the vanishing point. Now, this is the center of vision and my measuring point, which is true, and I'm trying to determine the diagonal, this 45 line, which gives you the recessional dimensions as well. If I want it deep, I put it close, and if I want it shallow like this, I can put it further, in this case to the right. It can be to the left, it makes no difference. So there I'm just judging where it is. There is a way to work it out, but for this exercise it's not worth worrying about. So I put the diagonal in only as far as I want. It's no use drawing more lines than needed. There's enough as it is. Now where that diagonal line crosses each of the other grids, that must be the back corner of that square in perspective, and they diminish as further you go away. This is all explained in the video 5.0. So there's the depth of my room. Now I'm drawing the two front corners of the space, just to give me a feel for what I'm about. I'll then measure on the true scale a height for the room, or the height of the ceiling, and at the same time I'll put a ridge height in, which was that last measurement. So there's the ceiling height at the front. Now this is the center or the ridge offset, even though it's equal either side, and I'm just very accurately putting in where the front top ridge is, point there. I project that back to the, sorry, I'm doing the front edges of the rafters just so I can get a feel for the space. This is sort of the cutout for the box, a section. It's like an oblique projection where you elevation oblique. Okay, I'm projecting where the walls hit the rafters back. That's the top of the wall. Now I'm also checking that where the two hit are in fact accurate against the back verticals. Yeah, just to check your accuracy. Now what I'm doing here is putting in some mullions of a future glass wall, but this also happens to be my side grid for the spacing of the rafters going back. Now what I do is project across. This also happens to be the ceiling beams, but it also gives me the other side. I don't measure the other side and hope that it all lines up. If I make one mistake, I can see it, but if I make two, I get into a real mess. That last one was where I was projecting the ridge back to the vanishing point. Now this is the slope of my roof, and because it's 1 point and in parallel, I can draw all the rafters parallel. In this particular design, if it wasn't parallel, we'd have to set it out differently. So they're the main rafters going back on the right hand side, and these are the rafters, again all parallel on the left hand side. I apologise for the lighting, but I think you can see what's going on. Okay, I'm just adding some detail, some rafters and so forth. This detail will give you drawing depth and feeling. Now here I'm putting a table, a rectangular table in. I'm just measuring two corners, and I've made it at 45 to the main grid. Two reasons: it'll add some variation and a bit of life to the drawing, and secondly, I've already got the vanishing points where the top of the table disappears. They're the two diagonal vanishing points because they're at 45, if you remember. Now I was just measuring a height there. I should have really done it off the center height line. I just did it intuitively. I should have done off the center line and projected back in perspective to get the true height. These are the corner, this is the back leg of the table, four-legged thing. This is the bottom where it hits the floor. Again, you notice it all goes back to the vanishing point, in this case the right hand diagonal vanishing point. Now what I'm setting up is the left hand vanishing point so I can get the table that disappears to the left. It just so happens this vanishing point is exactly the same distance to the left as it is to the right, only because it's at 45. I must emphasize that. So the back of the table now, back to the vanishing point. The back of the table disappears to the right vanishing point. That's the rectangular top table. You can just see it. Now I'm just doing a little bit of detail, getting the legs sorted out, because they're in, you'll see two sides of each leg, of course. Now I'm just determining the back little leg. So all the little details count in the end. Yeah, just tidying it up. The way I'm drawing here is probably twice speed of ordinary natural, because I've obviously taken out a lot of frames. Okay, now here we ink it all in. I'm just using an art line pen on cartridge paper. Doesn't sort of bleed. As I'm inking in, I'm deciding what to leave and what not to leave, and the blue set out lines sort of give this nice hazy feeling to the drawing. I've decided to put the grid in just so you can see. Bit of a tree to show the walls transparent, and then the diagonals which cross through each corner of the square. You notice they all go to a diagonal vanishing point. That's just a little bit of detail. Hope you've enjoyed it.